On this episode of In the Middle with Principal Hayward, we're going to be joined by some special teachers from our specials unit down in C Wing. We're going to be joined by Dr. Bianca, the band director, and Miss Messenger, our art teacher, on the arts edition of In the Middle. And of course, we'll also have our student segment where I'll feature one of our best and brightest here at Norton Middle School. Hi, thanks for joining us on In the Middle with Principal Hayward. I'm joined in this segment on this show with Dr. Bianca, the band director at Norton Middle School. Dr. Bianca, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Principal Hayward. Happy to be here.
Yeah, excellent. So let's get into it. I prepared some questions for you.
Okay.
Just general stuff to let the community get to know some of the great teachers that we have at Norton Middle School.
Sure.
We've got a lot. When I arrived in 2014-15, we had a lot of great teachers. You happen to be one of the great ones that I had the pleasure of hiring. So that I'm very proud of that, and you've really done some amazing things over, how many years have you been here?
My third year in Norton.
Your third year in Norton. Okay, great. First and foremost, because I just kind of mentioned that things have been changing and growing,
Sure.
Why is music education so important to children in a public school environment?
Okay. Well, I think overall, when we talk about a public school environment, I think we're teaching these kids to become good citizens when they get out of school, be members of society, very productive members of society.
Sure.
And I think that a lot of the things music teaches these kids really trickles down to them in their daily lives.
Yeah.
For example, when we're in band class, we're talking about precision, we're talking about dedication, we're talking about determination,
Those character values.
perseverance, all those sorts of things. And I tell my kids all the time, the lessons they're learning in this band room are things that I hope they will take with them into adulthood, whether or not they decide to continue on an instrument or not. And that's my chief goal when I'm working with them here at the middle school.
And so just expanding on that general theme that we're trying to have, flow through all parts of our school building, those character values, that determination and grit that you mentioned.
Definitely.
I can only imagine how much that takes to learn to do an instrument. The kids are so talented.
I tell them all the time, one note at a time.
One note at a time?
One note
day
at a time. Yep.
Insert
Yep.
here. How has the program grown over the past several years?
Well, I think when I first got here to Norton, my first year I was just trying to check things out and see kind of where we stood as a program, the numbers, the caliber of the music the kids had been performing. And our band right now is about 60 students in general, which has held steady over the past 3 years. But I think one distinction that we've experienced is the caliber of our performances, I think, have gone up. We're picking music that's a little bit more standard and traditional. And along the way, the kids are, again, all those things that trickle down into their daily lives, we're working on those values every day.
Where do you see the future of the program going, and what things are already in place that will help that, and what are some of the challenges that might, present as you try to shape the program as it moves into the future?
Well, I think one of the great things that's in place is that the music program here in Norton has a lot of support from the administration, from people like you and Mr. Goldstein, from Dr. Bayetta, and I think that is really, really crucial. That's probably the bedrock of our program here. Going forward, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Going forward, I think that we need to work on expanding the numbers. Getting the band to grow. I would love to see the band at around maybe 75 students. So we're always trying to get as many kids involved in it as we'd like to. And lastly, I think in my most ideal world, I would love for a type of schedule that would allow those kids to really, really be protected in terms of making sure that band time or that chorus time is really, really sacred, and so that way we can keep pushing the bar forward and keep marching forward with that.
Yeah, and so it can be counted on in a stable part of the daily schedule.
Definitely.
Sure. What's your instrument of choice? So I've seen you teach, I don't even know how, kids come in with all different instruments, and I see kids every day off the bus carrying all different sizes of instruments and everything else.
Yep.
And in my mind, I'm thinking they're all going to one guy.
Yeah. Well, my instrument of choice is clarinet. I actually started as a 5th grader in my school band program in Rhode Island. And along the way, when I was getting my bachelor's degree at University of New Hampshire, we were required as part of our curriculum to sort of learn a little bit on every instrument that they offer in a band program and even in an orchestra program, although my string playing is not what it used to be. So again, one note at a time, and a lot of perseverance and a lot of practicing, and you kind of learn to hold your own. It can be a little tricky, but you get there.
So, and again, this is going to be a real novice question. So, reading the music's the same for all the instruments?
It is the same. Yep,
okay,
it is the same.
And then it's just your skill in knowing where to hit that note on all these different instruments.
Different fingerings, different clefs that the kids have to read. Like the bass instruments read bass clef, the higher voiced instruments read treble clef. Knowing where those notes are and then knowing the fingerings for them. So it's a lot, but again, one note at a time, and we make it work.
Yeah. Any singing? I always say, in my mind, band and chorus. So I was like, band and chorus. I schedule the school, band and chorus. Band and chorus. Any singing?
Very little singing.
That's
Miss Kuchar's department.
Okay, so we won't step on toes
or
but no singing. Okay, I was going to ask you to sing.
Oh, forget about it.
Okay. Now, when we were looking at interviewing for a music teacher, again, it's one of those things. I've done a ton of hiring in my time as an administrator, but music teachers not so often because there's fewer of them in a school.
Sure.
Sometimes, unfortunately, none. So I didn't have as many opportunities interviewing music teachers. I brought Mrs. Kuchar in and things like that. But one of the things that stood out on your resume, and I said, I'm bringing them in just to see what this is all about.
Sure.
You won a Grammy.
Oh, nominated in a group. Yeah.
Nominated for what? Like, tell me about that.
Okay.
What was that?
So it was the last year of my doctorate at the University of Miami, and Miami's program was known for a lot of the jazz program and jazz writing and all that sort of stuff. And so one of my classmates in my doctoral program, his name is Jeremy Fox, and part of his dissertation was arranging this jazz piece for a small ensemble with a couple of jazz singers. And we got into a recording studio one day. He asked me to play in the group, so I was playing clarinet on the ensemble, and he, we went in a recording studio. We recorded, I think, for like 8 hours, which was kind of really arduous because when you're recording in a studio, you have to make sure everyone is doing the precise thing at the right time. So you have to wear headphones and these click tracks that go on, and you can't really hear yourself playing. But anyway, we did this for 8 hours, and then he said, "Okay, guys, thanks for coming." He put it together with some jazz vocalists in New York City, and then about 6 to 8 months later, I'm getting a message from him on Facebook saying, "Hey, this recording was nominated for a Grammy, and we won." So he said, "Send me your name and your address, and I'll send you a little certificate from the Academy of Recording Arts and Sciences." So initially, I was kind of hesitant to do this because it was a lot of time. I was in my last year of my doctorate, got to write the paper, got to do all kinds of things. One of my friends said, "Peter, just do this project." I'm glad I did because it came with that nice little accolade. So
I mean, you had a great resume. We would have called you in anyways, but it really stood out to me. I was like, "Wow, Grammy one." What does a day off look like for you?
Day off. Usually, when I get a day off, I'm usually at home practicing for about maybe an hour or so on my clarinet. I do some playing off to the side, so I'm always trying to keep my chops up like that. And then usually it'll probably have me outside working on some project in my yard. I love being outdoors, so if it's like raking leaves or mowing the lawn or trimming some hedges, stuff like that. And then, usually
I'll rake. I don't like bagging. Bagging, no. Raking, okay.
Raking's not bad. And then at the end of the day, I like to kind of wind down, maybe with a movie or something like that, just to chill a little bit.
Decompress and get ready for another week.
That's right.
Back in Norton.
Exactly. Yeah.
What do you listen to? What type of music do you listen to? Because I imagine playing all these instruments, you must really have an eclectic thing, but is there one type of genre or group or singer that you listen to a lot?
I have to say it's probably a lot of classical music. First time I ever listened to anything classical was when I was about 10 years old. I was in 5th grade, and it really kind of hit me like a bolt of lightning. And I listen to a lot of jazz as well, but pretty much classical is where I kind of keep it at. There's so much history. There's so much music. You can listen to a piece 10, 20 times in a row, and you'll always hear something new, something different, something more complex. And that's really kept me engaged over all these years. Yeah. But I'm not going to lie. Occasionally, I might put on a couple of tracks from something by Taylor Swift or something like that, just to kind of change it up a little bit.
Sure,
singing in the car.
Stoplight, turn it down a little bit. Okay, then turn it up, and it's back to Taylor Swift.
But that's just between you and I.
Yeah, sure, nobody else. So, ever get stage fright? I mean, I'm always blown away when the kids get up here, and some of them are so quiet during the day, they don't say, and then they're in front of this 500 people in the auditorium in the plane. Have you personally ever got stage fright?
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. It's something that, there are times I'll walk out on stage, whether I'm giving the opening remarks here at the concert or if I'm going to be playing in a recital, and sometimes it won't bother me. And then other times, for whatever reason, I will totally feel like I'm the only person in the room, and it gets a little bit shaky. Yeah. But I keep telling myself the best way to kind of deal with it is to realize that at the end of the day, the world's not going to end. Yeah. And I just kind of take a nice deep breath and do my best, and it usually goes well. And
how do you help kids who have stage fright?
Well, in the case of the band, because we do have some kids who really do kind of feel that momentum when they get out on stage.
Sure.
And I tell them, I say, number one, I said, you're going to do great regardless. And I say, look, I said, we're all part of a team. We're all working on this together. I tell the kids all the time, I said, there have been times when I walked out on this stage and I've been afraid too. I said, but we're going to do it together. I said, you're not going to be alone. I said, and whatever happens, we're going to do well. We're going to do well. I tell the kids all the time, never expecting perfection. As long as they give me their best, that's about as much as I can hope for from them.
Yeah. If you weren't teaching, and you do it good and you do it well, I'm sure you might say, the only thing I want to do, but if you weren't teaching, what would you be doing?
Oh, that's a tough one. I got to be honest. I think it kind of ties into my love of being outdoors. Like, maybe in a past life I was like a farmer or something like that. But I would love to just be outside working with my hands and just watching stuff grow or taking care of things. That's really. I go back to that a lot because I spent a lot of time when I was a kid, helping out in my yard, my dad and my mom and all that kind of stuff. And it really is, whether it's warm or cold, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I just like being outside.
Yeah. Sometimes, you know what I think it is? Because I sometimes want to, I dream of being a carpenter, but sometimes it's just like here, you're always responsible for someone or something or the kids.
Sure.
And the thing. So maybe being outside or doing something that's solitary, or you're responsible for you, or the endeavor.
Definitely, yeah.
Is something relaxing that you think you want to do. Because a lot of teachers, I think, say, if I could do something else, it would be something that seems a little more solitary.
Sure.
You mentioned just briefly, with the stage fright, sometimes making the opening remarks. One of the things that struck me right when you came here was these great little anecdotes or stories that you tell at the beginning, either tied to a piece of music or something coming up. Where'd you get that from, and where do you get, was it a professor or something? These great stories, I think, add so much, and it's beyond seeing the kids play, it's the piece that I really enjoy the most is the anecdotes that you connect to the music and tell to the audience.
Sure. Well, I think a lot of it comes from when when you go to a concert and you hear a group play, you usually get a program, and the program has all these like notes about the piece, about the composer, about the history. And sometimes those concerts are formatted in a way where the conductor doesn't speak at all. He or she just gets to the podium, bows to the audience, and then turns around and works with the group. For me, I always felt that in terms of dealing with stage fright, for me, a mechanism that I think helps me feel more comfortable with my audience is to tell a little story or to give them a little bit of history or a little bit of background about the piece, because I often tell really corny jokes as well, and sometimes the audience gives me a reaction. Yeah. And when they give me a reaction and I know that they're engaged, it makes me feel more calm about what's about to happen. Yeah. And it gives the kids a chance to sort of settle into their seats while I'm talking. They can get ready, they can finger the notes, all that kind of stuff. So it kind of covers a lot of different ground. And I think it just it heightens the experience and makes everyone leaving maybe learning a little bit something new about a piece we played or about history or how it all fits in. So. Yeah.
Okay, final question. If you could play on stage, perhaps this stage right here, Norton Middle School, with any three people, living or dead, in your little band, your ensemble, who would they be?
Oh yeah, the first one would have to probably be the composer J.S. Bach, because he was the first piece of music I'd ever really heard that was quote unquote classical. All right. So he's number one. Second one would probably be Gustav Mahler, another really famous composer.
Yeah.
He wrote a lot of great stuff that has a lot of meaning to me.
Yeah.
And the third one, let's throw in maybe Mozart.
Mozart.
Yeah,
Okay.
another guy who had an interesting sense of humor, and
Yeah.
I would love to have just seen him in action.
All
That would have been
right.
really cool.
That sounds like 4 strong musicians up on stage. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us
Thank
for the
you,
show.
Principal Hayward. My pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dr. Bianca, the other Dr. B. Okay, we're here with the arts episode of In the Middle with Principal Hayward, and I am joined by our art teacher, Miss Laura Messenger. Laura, thank you for coming on the show.
Of
Really
course.
appreciate it. Really appreciate it. So I prepared some questions because this is our forum, our spotlight, to get the people in the community to know the great teachers here at Norton Middle School. I had Dr. Bianca on an episode, and he was one of the people that I hired. You also are one of the people that I had the pleasure of hiring as a full-time teacher here at Norton Middle School.
Yeah.
So it's great to have, after a few years here, starting to build people that I was able to interview and bring in, and you've been doing a fantastic job.
Thank you.
So you went to Norton Middle School.
I did.
You went to Norton. Did you ever imagine that you'd be back here teaching?
No, not at all.
Okay, that's a definitive answer. Okay,
Yeah. Well,
next
I didn't.
question.
When I was in middle school, I didn't even think about being a teacher. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
When did you start thinking about becoming a teacher?
Not even until my senior year of high school.
Yeah.
I always wanted to be a nurse, and then I took chemistry, and then I changed my mind.
Was it the chemistry that caused you to change your mind?
Yeah, kinda. The chemistry
Okay.
and like biology. So,
It's better to find out senior year of high school than senior year of college.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I was about to apply to nursing programs, and then my art teacher in high school told me that I should look into art teaching because I always wanted to work with kids. So I put the two together. So
Who was the
it ended
teacher?
up, her name was Miss Servant.
Yeah.
Now her name's Mrs. Lee.
Yeah.
So that's at Bishop Feehan.
Oh,
I
great.
think she works in North Attleboro now, though.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. It's always great to recognize teachers that had that much of an impact. because
Yeah.
in some, we all hope that we have that much of an impact with
Yeah.
the kids we have now.
Exactly.
And I bet you're doing that. You work closely with Mrs. Greer. Mm-hmm. Is it true that you're her daughter?
No.
That's not true?
That's not true.
Okay, bad
The rumors are
information.
false.
Okay. But she was a great mentor, I think, and she had so much institutional knowledge. And I was just joking, not her daughter. But you were able to do some student teaching here with her?
Yep.
Yep, and then you were able to come back, so you really got to benefit from all the experience that she had working in Norton Middle School.
Yeah.
What's the best piece of advice that anyone has ever given you?
Probably, oh my God, I would say to not give up probably.
Yep.
Like as in like for academics.
Yep.
Because sometimes there would be like really hard classes I would have to take,
Yeah.
like psychology could be tough. Even the art history classes I had to take in school were tough.
Yep.
But I went to tutors and I
Yep.
studied a lot, and I was able to keep my GPA up so I could graduate with a pretty good GPA from college.
That's great, so
And
that's
then-
stick with it.
Yeah, and then getting into the whole teacher program was pretty tough too, with having
Yeah.
to take all the standardized testing and everything. So
Yeah, so just stick
yes,
with it.
never give up and stay positive.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. And you're always, no matter what time of day that I go into your room, and it's tough. I mean, this is work. I mean,
Yeah.
this is work. I know it's school and we want to have fun, and but this is what we do for a living. And no matter what time of day, beginning of the day, you always have a smile and seem to be passionate and positive. And I think that translates to the kids.
Yeah.
So that smile and having a good attitude and energy is great advice to give. You don't just teach during the day, you also run the art club. How's that going this year?
Awesome. We've had a few meetings, so we're already like almost done with our first project.
Yeah.
There's a count of I think 47 kids. So
47 kids
yeah.
in the art club. Wow.
Luckily, Mr. Kramer's there to help out.
Yep.
So
Any
crowd
new
control.
projects being introduced or just kind of doing the same type of?
No, we do new projects every year so that the kids who did the last couple years aren't repeating.
Yeah.
So, we'll usually have the same projects every 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. How do you express yourself artistically? Like, what's your medium of choice? I know you do a lot of stuff in our classes, but sometimes it's colored pencils, sometimes it's clay. How do you express yourself artistically, and what type of medium do you like to work in?
Well, I actually always liked drawing. My style was always everything looked like cartoons. So I like drawing cartoons and also the clay, but that's something that I can't really, it's expensive, so you can't do it like on your own really. So doing clay with the kids is really fun because I can get back into that. That was my favorite class when I was in school.
I don't even know if this is a real question. For some reason, it just popped in my head when you said you like the drawing and the. Are you Marvel or DC? Is that a question? Have I heard that question before?
No.
Oh, I just know what the kids with the comic books always talk. They're like Marvel or DC.
Oh yeah, like the superheroes.
Yeah.
No, it's not really. No, I don't know.
It's not so much that type of cartoon.
Yeah.
You say.
It's more just like when I taught 5th grade in Attleboro. I was drawing something for someone that they needed help with, and then they started to ask me. I was like, "Can you draw this? Can you draw this?" So if I had time, I draw them like a little cartoon of something every once in a while.
And we stole you from Attleboro?
Yeah.
Sorry. Got to get good teachers.
Yeah.
Going first. There's certain things, I guess, just in life or in school here, and certain subjects and content areas where people say, "I'm not good at math. I can't sing. I'm no good at art."
Yeah.
And you don't hear that about social studies.
Right.
You don't hear that about other subjects. But art is one of those things where people just get locked into what their ability is, and that's just kind of it. How do you deal with, "I'm no good at art. I can't do that"? You must hear that a lot.
Yeah, I hear that all the time, especially with like the 6th graders, because we do a drawing project. They had to draw chameleons, and I probably hear from at least 5 kids a class saying like, "Oh, I won't be able to draw that," or "I can't draw." And then it's funny because I go through the steps with them. It's a whole lesson, and then they end up all drawing a really good chameleon. And then I'm like, "Look what you did," and they're like, "Oh yeah, I guess I can."
Yeah.
So I hear it all the time.
Yeah.
But I just say you can't say that because you can. You just haven't tried yet. So,
and that's the thing that you added on the end there. You just haven't tried yet.
Right.
And I'm not good at art yet.
Yeah.
And I'm not good at math yet. And that's something we're really trying to drive through the school, kind of that growth mindset that I spoke about to teachers on the first day.
Yeah.
And I really see in your class, like you're on of that particular battle, of all the battles we face, that kind of fixed mindset. I think art is one of those subjects right in the front line because people walk in. Adults do this too. We log in. "I'm no good at math. I can't do it," or "I can't draw," right away. And you must have to confront that constantly.
Yeah.
So how do you motivate kids who just maybe aren't interested in art? Not my thing.
Well, a lot of my assignments, they have the opportunity to be able to involve their own life.
Yeah.
As their theme of their clay project or their painting. So they're able to involve their own interests and hobbies and sports and family in their projects. So if they're able to do something that they like with something that they might be uncomfortable with, they're usually more willing to try. I usually find that they're like, "Oh, I can do that, okay."
It's like a real life connection.
Yeah, I always try to have a real life connection to it.
Can people learn to be artistic?
Yeah. So usually people try to when you're in classes for art education, they tell you about the fact that people like to stay away from the words talent or artist or the I can't. So if you just practice, it all takes experience and it all takes practice. Whenever I'm drawing the chameleon, for example, all the kids are like, "How do you draw that?" And I just say I do it all the time because I have to teach the kids and I have to make examples. So everything, just like sports, it all takes practice.
Yeah, so just going in and taking your ground balls and doing your
you're
work.
Not going to get it the first try, but if you keep doing it, then you'll get there.
Back to that stick-with-itness that you talked about. Great.
Right.
What's been your favorite project thus far at Norton Middle School that you've been involved in? Art club, any type of just project that you've been involved with?
I'd say just being in the class with the kids and doing their clay project is really cool because they take something home that they can hold and they can put on their shelf and they can put there are like pencils in it.
So it's producing a product.
Yeah,
so
the products. Yeah, like the ending product of all the projects.
Yeah.
When they come in on the day that I take their glazed projects, their glazed clay projects out of the kiln, they're always really excited, and they can take it home, and hopefully they keep it unless it breaks. But
yeah, they probably do, right?
Yeah.
I still have a bookcase from woodshop years ago.
Yeah.
What's the most beautiful or interesting piece of artwork that you've seen in person? Because I imagine going to art college and things like that. What's the most beautiful, interesting piece that you've seen in person?
In person, I've only really been able to go to the MFA in Boston.
Yeah.
So I haven't had a lot of like cool experiences in a whole bunch of museums.
Yeah.
But
you got time.
Yeah, I have. But I was at the MFA when they had like some type of like Shanghai event, and it was really cool. They had all like different types of artwork, so it was like one of the installations they do, and just seeing all that type of artwork was really cool. There wasn't really one in particular, because my favorite painting is pretty cliche, but it is Starry Night by Van Gogh, because I love all like the blues in the background. It's really cool. Yeah. So cool. I haven't been able to.
I'm actually familiar with that. So
yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, everyone knows that one usually.
What inspires your own art? Is there any theme that runs through your art? Like, some people, they always draw, dogs or something. Is there any theme that runs through like your own personal art, something that you like to draw, or a theme, whether it's nature or animals or?
Actually, it is when I was in school for my drawing projects, I was always doing, in painting, I always used my dog as a subject, so I have like a bunch of drawings of my dog. Okay. So it actually is animals, because they have like cool textures when you drawing with like their fur and everything. Yeah. So it's not just like drawing like a person, because that can get really frustrating. But I do like drawing animals.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Interesting. I guess that was a good question. I was trying to think of something that was a good question. All right. We have a lot of technology going on at Norton Middle School. We've brought in the Chromebooks. We've got the great Wi-Fi. We're doing one-to-one with the kids. How is technology, or is it, changing the art classroom? And is it for the better or worse?
As of now, it's been for the better, because the fact that they have their Chromebooks, kids need references when they're drawing something. Yep. And it saves me time printing out a whole bunch of like pictures of something that they're going to be focusing on, and time for them to be lined up behind me waiting to print out a picture, so they can bring their Chromebooks and they can use them for reference, and they can like Google and brainstorm and get ideas for what they want to do for like a certain project.
Yeah, so they have that kind of repository of ideas and things to get them thinking right there at their fingertips.
Yeah, so it's been pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you think in the future it's going to change things? Are there programs? Are you going to be doing more art within that digital environment, or?
Yeah, because with graphic design, that would be really cool, because they love playing with like the filters on pictures. It'd be really cool for them to be able to advance like what they do with just making filters on pictures, because they can do that on apps on their phones. But with Photoshop, you can do a whole bunch of things where they can change like their images, or they can even take a picture of their artwork and edit it. Photography would be really cool. Yeah. So just different ways to express themselves artistically and put their own kind of flavor into projects and subjects. Great. Because Photoshop is something that not everyone has.
Yeah. Tell me something you can't live without.
Can't live without. I'd have to say my laptop, I guess.
Your laptop?
Yeah. I need my laptop.
Yeah, everyone needs a laptop.
Yeah.
I think the laptop and Wi-Fi, and we're good to go.
Yeah, Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Okay.
I definitely couldn't live without Wi-Fi.
All right. I have a feeling if I ask kids that, the answer would be that probably something to do with their phone.
I was trying to not say my phones.
Yeah, I know. If I gave you a blank check to buy something for your classroom, what would it be? Probably
a new kiln.
A new kiln?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, it's on the list. No blank checks, though. All right. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Of course.
Really
Thank
appreciate it. Thanks, Laura Messenger, art teacher, Norton Middle School. Now time for the student segment of In the Middle with Mr. Hayward. I'm joined today by Janessa Arguello, 8th grade student here at Norton Middle School. Janessa, thank you so much for coming on the show. You're brave. You're the second student guest since we started doing this, so thank you. When deciding who to have on the guest, we have so many great, interesting kids at the school. You know, I'm trying to think of kids who do multiple things or kids who are doing exceptional things. And one of the things happening this year with the girls soccer team is how many shutouts you have. How many shutouts does the team have right now?
Well, I've had 7 goals scored on me all season.
Yeah.
And that's been 2 games, I think.
Yeah, so I think you have like 5 shutouts going.
Yeah.
Didn't mention, but I'll do it now because she just did. She's the goalie of the team. And have you played goalie all your life, or is it something you switched to at the middle school level?
I've played goalie like here and there, but I'm pretty sure like maybe last year I focused on goalie for 1 team.
Yeah.
I play for like 5 different teams in soccer right now.
Yeah.
And I'm like a different position for all of them, but I've been goalie for middle school for 2 years now.
Yeah. Do you think that's helped you become a better goalie, that you play out and play different positions?
Yeah, because I know like, oh, someone needs to cover back.
Yeah.
Like I know what to do on the field too, so that way I can help like navigate and help people like move through the field. Yeah.
Yeah. And I do recall I was out watching one of the games out back one day, and you were pretty vocal, and you were telling people, you know, watch here or there, or kind of position in the defense. So that's going good. How's this season going beyond just the wins and losses and the amazing shutouts? I can't recall any team having that many shutouts, but how's it going in general? Just how's the team, being a member of the team?
Well, family-wise, we're all like this. Like I talk to them in school and out of school, and I text some of them. Like we're really close friends. Yeah. And it also helps that most of us have been together for 3 years, 2 years. Yeah. And then the 6th graders who just came on, they like that. We're already like so close. Yeah,
that's an interesting word that you use, family.
Yeah.
Because you said family-wise, and I didn't know where you're going, but you really kind of, is that something you guys work at as an 8th grade to kind of bring that to the whole team? What are some things you do to kind of do that, or is it just a mindset that you guys have?
I think since we've been on the team for so long, like it's just always there, but we do always try and like include the 6th and 7th graders and like switch up and stuff. Yeah. Yeah, awesome.
Well, in the middle school and high school level, we're always student athletes. So I want to ask you some stuff about the school itself. You remember StuCal this year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How's my first year.
First year. How's that been going?
It's fun. I like all my friends are there. It's a good time, and we're always talking about how to better the school and like what to do in the next month, and it's really cool. Yeah. Kind
of like leaving your mark too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Doing those things and making sure that 8th grade isn't just about moving to high school, but really enjoying that 8th grade year and the some of the unique experiences that you saw 8th grade classes do before you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you going to run for any offices or just be a member of the board?
I'm not sure.
Okay, thinking about it.
Yeah.
Okay, that'd be great.
My dad was student president.
Oh, he was?
Yeah.
Okay. Was he goalie too?
No.
Okay, all right. So following in some footsteps there. That's great. Something I wish I got involved in school. I never applied myself or put any effort into that. I regret it, seeing all the great experiences kids have now, working in a school. What's the most interesting project you've done since you've been in the middle school? Just a cool project that a teacher had you work on?
Like middle school, like all 3 years?
Yeah, all 3 years. Any cool project that you've done? Interesting.
Well, last year, the combined teams for Mr. Cummings and Mr. Beard, we made a movie project. That was really cool.
What was the title of your movie?
I forget.
You forget? Okay, but it was cool.
It was about like these 3 friends, and the government put something in the food and made them all mad or something.
Okay. All right. Well, it sounds pretty creative.
Yeah.
A lot, I had a guest on last week, a student guest named that same project. So that seems to be a real awesome 7th grade experience going through that project. Halloween's coming up. 8th grade. What are 8th grades trick-or-treating? Are you moving? Like, when does that line kind of stop and start? Sometimes the kids come to my house, they're bigger than me. They're like, candy.
I think it's all in the fun and like who you're going with.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of people doing group costumes for the school contest.
Yeah.
And then
Have you decided yet on what costume?
We're going, me and a lot of friends are going as Mario Kart.
Mario Kart, okay, that's for because we have categories and group is one of them. Group is one of the categories, so you're letting the secret out already, Mario Kart.
Yeah.
Okay. And will you be trick-or-treating on the thing, or? I'm
thinking about it. Yeah. I just want candy.
You just want candy, okay, all right, just all for the candy. What teacher, not teacher that you like the best, I always ask that question. I'm going to ask you, what teacher do you think you're most like? If you had to think of a teacher that you've had here that you think you're most like, and why? Like, what reason would you say, I think I'm kind of like this person because?
I think I'm kind of most like Miss Crandall and Mr. Cummings.
Okay.
Because Miss Crandall's like, she puts a lot of laughs in, and I like to laugh.
Yeah.
And then Mr. Cummings, he's such a good English teacher, and I love English.
Okay.
And yeah.
That's awesome. They're going to feel great hearing that.
Yeah.
They're going to feel great hearing that. It's one of the reasons teachers do this stuff is to kind of the impact you're making on kids and things like that. So what are your sights set on for career or college? Have you planned that far ahead, or are you kind of toying with some different things that you might want to do or even pursue athletics in college?
Yeah. For high school, I know I'm going more for English and soccer.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking I want to be a writer because I'm in love with writing and I love creative writing.
Yeah.
But also I've always, like, in the back of my head, I was like, oh, it'd be cool to be a forensic scientist, but I'm really bad at math.
Yeah, well, you're just not good yet. But you really like the writing. How is, when you started at the middle school and you're that group, you started, you didn't have Chromebooks, we didn't have it, and now 8th grade's looks very different than 6th grade. The Chromebooks help you with the writing, help you be creative, things like that? Are you finding is it easy to kind of compose and write on a Chromebook? I'm old school. I write it down and then I go to my computer and type it in. What about you?
When I'm on the computer, I use a lot of like websites to help with like, oh, what's a word for this? Or to like make it more.
Yeah.
And I know I like writing down on a piece of paper because I can it's like erasing and I can read what my mistakes are and stuff. I don't know, I've just always written on paper and
Okay, old soul like that. Great. And what about for any colleges that you're looking at or anything like that? I know it's early, but...
Not yet. I know I definitely, if I want to keep like exceeding in English, it's definitely going to be an English-based like...
Okay. So something where you're going to major in that type of thing. That's great. Ever consider teaching?
No.
No? Okay. Well, you picked out 2 great English teachers, Mrs. Crandall and Mr. Cummings, as kind of models and people you think you like. So that's a good start if you emulate them. And they're doing great at what they do.
Yeah.
Next question. If I was going to hire you to work here, so I'm going to give you a job here. You can have any job you want. Any job. What would it be?
Art teacher.
Art teacher? Okay. Why is that?
Aside from writing and art, is a very big passion of mine.
Yep.
I've been drawing and like I've been noticed for my drawing too a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm really in love with writing and drawing and like painting and stuff.
Yeah. What type of things do you like to draw or paint? Like kind of like animals, nature, is there a particular type of thing that you like to draw? I always draw a box that's a 3D box and sometimes stars. That's my thing.
It's not specifically like a type of thing that I draw, but I like colors and like splashes and lines and just abstract everything. I love it.
Wow, you sound fascinating and creative. Great. What piece of advice would you give to a 5th grade student right now that's down at the Yale school? Maybe he's thinking about, I got to switch schools going to the middle school. What piece of advice would you give to a 5th grade student coming in now that you're in 8th grade looking back?
Definitely keep your friends as close as possible.
Yeah.
Popularity doesn't mean everything.
Yeah.
Stay on your grades, stay on your school, like do your sports and just focus on the big things.
Yeah. That sounds like great advice from one of our best and brightest 8th graders. Janessa, I'd like to thank you for coming on to the show. You did a fantastic job.
Thank you.
Keep up a great season, too, with soccer.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks. Janessa Arguello. Thanks for joining us for today's episode. I really hope you enjoyed it. You got to meet some of our great teachers from the Specials Unit on the Arts edition of In the Middle with Principal Hayward. So until next time, I'll be in the middle.